episode 81 of Nickel O's World Podcast. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for sticking around as long as you have in the past 8 months. I know that I've been MIA. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for checking me out. And go back and check out the past 80 episodes if you want to get caught up and see what I'm all about. A knitting, crocheting, spinning podcast as well as a life podcast. This is a whatever you want to call a podcast. Today is May the 9th, 2019. Alright, I'm just going to jump into, some of you probably wondering why I've been MIA, and I have some announcements. I've been MIA because life. I've had to get some things in my personal life, my home life, that you guys don't see on the podcast straightened out. Those of you that follow me on social medias have seen and know exactly what is going on. I don't think I really need to dive into it because I'm sure most of you obviously do not really care. If you do care and you want to know, feel free to ask. I will tell you. Other than that, yeah, this is going, forgive me for being a little bit out of it. It's been a whole while since I podcasted, 8 months. Alright, let's delve into some changes and announcements. But first, grab your favorite choice of beverage. Like my new mug. Isn't it cute? This is so cute. If you're new, I have a thing or a fetish, if you want to call it, for mugs. I love unusual mugs and cups. I collect them and I use them. This is one, and I'm a sucker for yard sales. I picked this up at a yard sale. I think it's just cute. So, anyways. And if you know where I can get a really neat mug, let me know. Or cup, let me know. Anyways, announcements. We have a new logo. If you've noticed, I hope you guys like it. A very dear friend of mine created it for me. I contacted him and said, hey, I have this podcast and I really would like an awesome logo. Could you possibly design me one? And he designed me too, and it's totally great. And we are also on Patreon. I will put the link down below here, but we are on Patreon. It's under Nickel O's World Podcast. I made the executive decision to start a Patreon because I want to take this podcast to the next level. And what I mean by the next level is I'd like to get a better camera and better microphone system for the podcast. I want to take you guys on some adventures on where I live. I live in a gorgeous area in northeastern Pennsylvania. I live in a small tourist town. It was voted by Rhodes Show as in one of the top 10 prettiest towns in America to live in. So, I kind of like to show you guys that are some awesome places to knit and to picnic and just to have fun and shenanigans. And just the beauty of it, because I'm pro-learning from the Bakery Bears. I love where they take us. So, check out the Patreon page. Any support you guys can give to the podcast would be so much appreciated. And you will personally get to see the updates that happens to this podcast and to help it keep running. I am basically going to start our monthly finished object threads over. And we also have our blanket going. That is going to be an ongoing thing. If you're working on a blanket, they can be tedious. And I know some of you sew and you do quilts, so I'm also going to count quilting in with that. Because I should think that would be awesome. My goodness. And another thing I am looking for to help me keep our Ravel, because we do have a Ravelry group and we have a Facebook group as well, and they're both under Nicole O's World Podcast. So give them a check. I am looking for people to help me monitor it. I guess it's called monitors. Oh, I believe that's what it's called. But I am looking for people to help me with the podcast group and the Facebook group, because I want to get them back going and active again, because I have missed podcasting extremely bad. I've missed chatting with you guys every week. I miss going to, and I want to get our Facebook group active again and our Rav group active again, because I really love interacting with you guys. And with that being said, I guess we can go into finished objects. I have some that I finished last year. If you are interested in them, please go and check out my Ravelry page. They're on there. Not many, but they're on there. I haven't really been knitting and crocheting as much because I'm having a problem with my right hand. We're currently trying to get that looked at to see if I have permanent nerve damage from having carpal tunnel surgery done 2 years ago. So, going with that and other medical issues going on with me right now. And not going to talk about that so much today. As time goes on, I will share. If you want to know, feel free to message me. But I do have some finished objects that I currently finished. Excuse me, my allergies are bad. So forgive me if I'm snorting. One of my finished objects is called, and I'm not looking at text messages, everything's on my phone. One of my finished objects, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. It is called the Mediterranean Surf Doily, and it's by Red Heart Design Team. It is crocheted. Here's what it looks like. It is awesome. Goodness, if you want to see it up close. That's what it looks like up close. It is a free pattern. It's actually part of a book called, I don't say. But it is part of a book. I believe it's called Contemporary Crochet, but I could be completely making that up. Hang on, I do have it. Hang on. I am back. You guys got to see my curio, or my china cabinet, as some people call it. Forgive the way this book looks. It's really old. I've had it for a long time. I don't even know if it is in production. I got this back in 2006 or 2007. It's crochet, contemporary crochet by Coats. Is it Coats and Clarks? It just says Coats, but here it is. This is what it looks like. And it has a list of crochet projects on the back. This one was fairly easy to crochet up. I had absolutely no problem with it. I loved it. It was a quick little crochet project that I would pick up and put down and everything else. The only issue that I had was with the stitching in here. I'm not giving anything away when I say what kind of stitch it is. It's called a cross stitch. But to me, it's not the cross stitch that I know from crocheting. It's completely different. I had to go on to one of my crochet sites on Facebook and put a shout out for some help because I wasn't sure. And there are a lot, because crafting community, I think, we're generally helpful and nice, and people helped me figure it out, and I got it done. And if you're wondering, you're like, what do I use? I use Crochet Cotton, and it's Aunt Lydia's in the Ocean Aqua colorway. It is some yarn, it is some crochet cotton that I had in stash. I got it many years ago. It's pre 2007, so it's been heavily marinated in my stash. So that's that. And if you're wondering how I blocked it, I did not soak it. All I did was use some heavy spray starch and an iron on cotton setting, and I blocked it out that way. I know some people are like, you shouldn't have did that. Well, I did. That's how I always do it with these. My next project, and it is absolutely the cutest, and it was supposed to be done in time for Easter, but it was not, but that's okay. And here it is. Isn't this the cutest little tiniest sweater? It is called an egg warmer. Here, let me do it that way. That way I don't look like I'm giving you guys a naughty finger. But that's what it looks like. It's called Egg Warmer by Arn and Carlos. I would suggest, if you guys have not followed Arn and Carlos, I would suggest doing it. They are amazing. There's that side. That's how that looks. And I mean, these guys are amazing at what they create. Last year I did their Easter eggs, which they put it as a free pattern on their blog. This is a paid for pattern. It is available for $6, and it comes with 2 different ways you can knit this egg warmer, like 2 different patterns for $6. I did not complain. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a quick little knit, and it was knit on 3.5 mil and 4 mils, which is a US 4 and a US 6. This pattern is great if you have scraps and you don't know what to do with them. They're not enough to put in a blanket, or they're not enough to help with a project. It would be great to make one of these little sweaters. I don't know, somebody did message me and say, do they fit on Barbie dolls? I don't know. I have no dolls to figure that one out. But if you can, let me know. I would imagine that it would, because it stretches. So if you know, let me know. Alright, the next thing, and it's more of a half finished object, and it is, I am taking a Craftsy, or wait, no, they're called Blueprint now. A Craftsy Blueprint class with Amy Herzog. I am such a fan of Amy Herzog. I am like fangirl. A couple knitters got me hooked on her, and I have a Craftsy Blueprint subscription, and I seen she had a sweater class, and I decided I wanted to take it and get better at my sweater knitting and my garment knitting. And I finished the back panel to my sweater, and this is what it looks like. Forgive the wrinkledness, I did have it folded and put away. That's the inside. This class, like, she really helped me understand measurements is basically what she's helped me with sweaters. Because I'm like, I want to get better at it. I wasn't, I was like, you read a pattern and it's basically set up for Miss Average. Well, we're not all Miss Average. I'm a big girl, and I'm not always Miss Average. You're probably not Miss Average or Mr. Average. And she helps you with measuring yourself for a perfect sweater in a perfect fit where you need to put increases, decreases, darts, so on and so forth. I finished the back piece, so I'm counting this as a half-finished object. And I really love it. So, that's everything for finished objects. Work in progress, that's another story. So, I guess we should take a break after a little blurb from me. Alright, did you guys like that little picture I put in of the area where I live? I'm currently working on some things. If you guys would like me to shout out a product that you sell, let me know. I will be more than happy to put it in this podcast, or I'd like to go through the group and slide in some finished objects here for you guys. I'm just trying something different for our podcast to see what works and what isn't working, what you like, don't like, so on and so forth. Alright, now, let's go into this bag. You guys probably haven't seen this bag forever, and some of you, it is new. I made this bag. It is an 18-inch bag. I just used some leftover fabric that I had to make this bag. It is my perfectly imperfect bag because there are mistakes in it. And this fabric, I honestly stretched it to its limits to make this bag to use the fabric. And it even had, when fabric attacks, my dog, I have a boxer, he's 2 now, Z. He figured out how to open zippers on my project bags and have fun. Yeah, you can see with this is going up on with my yarn. So I had to take the bag apart and put in a new zipper. So when doing that, I decided to put in lining. I couldn't think of the word. Lining inside it to make it more sturdier and squishier. And the inside matches the outside. It's yarny goodness. And if you're wondering what's in here, I bought a pattern by the amazing K.F. Jones from the Bakery Bears podcast. If you have not checked them out, please go ahead and do so. Kay and Dan's her husband, are a wonderful podcast, a life podcast, a all-around podcast. I love where they show where they're going in England or where they visit it, where you can knit. They do all kinds of little episodes within the podcast. Check them out. But I'm doing her Stitch in Time blanket. This is another blanket that's really great for using up scraps or leftovers. They're mitered squares. I am doing mine a little bit different. I found a pattern. Well, it's a quilt. It's actually a quilt pattern. I believe it's called the Friendship Star. I'm not 100% sure, but I saw this pattern and I loved it. I'm like, I want to knit a blanket that looks like a quilt, but I want to knit Kay's pattern because I like it. So what I decided to do was incorporate both, up my knitting skills. And I've done just that. It's still on the needles. If you've been following me, you will have seen this before, and I had to rip it apart because it didn't come out right, and I was not happy with it, so I redid it. I'm actually knitting them on straight needles. Shocker, shocker. I know most people will use cables, but I'm a sucker for the original old straight needles. I love to collect them, and on certain projects, they just come in handy. This is a US 3. I don't know what the millimeter is on it. It doesn't have it on here, but it's a US 3. The yarn I'm using is all acrylic. It's stuff that's been in my stash, stuff that people have given me and donated to me or sent me, or my fairy yarn mother has given me. So I don't know the colors and the brands. Some of them I do know, but it's scrunched up, so forgive me, but this is what it looks like so far. This is the bottom square, and it does look pretty good on here. This I know for sure is Red Heart. This I do not know, and I know this is Red Heart because I bought this for the borders. It's a fun little knit. You can basically spend as much time on it as you want. The pattern, I'm basing it off of this. There's total of 9 miter squares that you have to make. As far as making them so that it fits the quilt, I figured that on my own trial and error. But I want to show you guys when this section is finished so you get a better idea. Hers, I believe she uses like sock yarn to make hers. I am using stash out of my yarn to make this, which is basically all acrylic. And yeah, I am not a yarn snob. I love all yarn equally, including acrylic and acrylic blends. Alright, my next pattern is by Martina Bem, and it's the Hitchhiker. I have previously made this pattern before. It is a paid-for pattern. And actually, I can tell you... Okay, the Stitch in Time is a paid-for pattern by Kay Jones, and it is roughly $4.73 US, and if you live in the UK, it is 3.50 GBP, I guess pounds, 350 pounds. And the next pattern I am working on, as I said, is the Hitchhiker. It is a Martina Bem pattern. I originally knitted this pattern a couple years ago in the same color. Not sure how well you guys can see it. Can't really see it, but anyways, I knitted a couple years ago and it got a hole right in the middle of it, so I'm reknitting it. I'm calling it my Hitchhiker 2.5, and as I said, it's a paid-for pattern. It's $490 euros, and US it costs $5.68. Or it's the way I originally said it, $4 euros and 90 euro cents. Yeah. Obviously, Nicole's not good with currency pronunciation. But it is a paid-for pattern. I am using, excuse me, Red Heart, Heart, and Soul sock yarn in the Green Ivy or Green Envy colorway. I do not know because I no longer have the tag. Because that's how long I've had this yarn. And I had to rip it out and redo it. Which is okay. Oh, I told a lie. I do have a ball band still. It is called Green Envy, and it's Red Heart, Heart, and Soul with aloe. that's what it looks like if you want to make a pair of socks. And this is what it looks like. I am, as I said, re-knitting it, the Hitchhiker 2.0. I actually cast this on New Year's Eve. This was my New Year's cast on, my New Year's Eve cast on. Because I decided I want to re-knit it because I loved, when I had this knit up, I loved wearing the Hitchhiker because it's such a versatile shawl or shawlette. I use it as a scarf and it works great, and I got so many compliments on it, and I just love the colorway. And the needles I am using are 3.50 mils or US 4s. These are my signature needles I got one year from Maryland Sheep and Wool. And this is what the Green Envy looks like. Yeah, that was the Hitchhiker originally. But yeah, that's the colorway. I just love it. And the bag I'm using, I got a few years ago at the New Jersey Sheep and Wool Festival. Next, I am taking, if you follow the Bakery Bears, you will have followed, I believe it was last year or the year before, Dan did a project called the Dan and Laura Project, where he knit every pair of socks out of Laura Neal's sock architecture book. Well, I didn't follow along with Dan last year, or the year before. I believe it was last year he did it. And I decided this year I'm going to follow in Dan's footsteps and do the same exact thing. I am a fangirl of both Dan and Laura, and I decided I want to knit my way through her book. Except I'm not gonna be a fast sock knitter like Dan. I am taking my time. I hope to have by May 9th of 2020 to have knit every pair of socks in her book. And in fact, I encourage all of you to join me in this progress. I assure you, I am not that far along. So you can follow along with me. I want to become a better sock knitter. And the one way to become a better sock knitter is to practice. Let's see if I have. I should still have it on my project page. I don't think I do. Which is a shame. I should. Oh, I do. It's called the Striped Socks by Laura Neal. I am doing both the top down and toe up version of the stripe. This is what it looks like. It is in her book Sock Architecture, and you can buy it on Ravelry for $16.95. I have both the hard book version and the ebook version, and I bought mine through Cooperative Press, and I'm sure by now you've heard it advertised. I suggest go check them out. They are great. That is, I forget how much it was over there, but it was it's well worth the money, because I'm actually also taking a blueprint version of her class as well, which is, I believe it's called Socks and Heels, or Heels and Cuffs, something to that effect. I don't know right now. I should have written it down. But she taught me so much, like, to get a good sock pattern to measure your foot all around. I previously knew that from doing the Fish Lips Kiss Heel. So it wasn't that different for me, but it is challenging, which I like. I actually started, and this yarn is called Match 100. It's 75% superwash, 20 polyamide. And it's 100 grams, and here's the color. This is actually yarn from my stash. When I had the Mary Maxim Knit Club of the Month, I got this sock color in it. And this is what it looks like. I do not know. I just call it green, or shades of green. I'm doing this stripe toe up. Oh my word. This was my original Fish Lips Kiss heel to make my heels, but when my dog was a puppy, he got a hold of it and chomped part of my foot off. Guess I gotta remeasure my foot and find a box. But anyways, this is where I'm at, and as I told you, reassure you can catch up with me. I am right at the toe. So I'm not very far along. And these are on Addi Sock Rockets. And I don't remember the size needle it is. But I will look it up the next time I show you guys these socks. And I suggest join me on this journey of sock knitting to become a better sock knitter. Maybe you want to get better at knitting toe-up socks. Maybe you want to get better at knitting cuff-down socks. Maybe you just want to get better at knitting heels on the socks or toes on the socks. Or this is your first time knitting sock. You know, like you're a newbie sock knitter and you want to get better. Join me on this project because it's well worth it. But that's that project. Let me show you the cuff down. I'm a little bit further on the cuff down, but not by much. Again, this is not a competition or a race, but join me on this. This is an epic journey. That bag I have, the last bag I showed you, I bought that at Dollar General. And it's just a makeup bag. I call it my I Love Makeup bag. This is my Heart Skewer. And it's my Perfectly Imperfect bag. I made this bag out of some fabric that I had. And I did this for Valentine's Day. I actually had this up on my Facebook page for sale for $10, but nobody wanted it. I mean, and I did put on there that this is a Perfectly Imperfect bag, that there's mistakes in it, but hey, nobody wanted it. This is the lining of the bag. You can see where I made mistakes, but that's okay. And I definitely don't have a ball band for this, but I know it's Premier Yarns, and the colorway I believe is called Harlequin. But I don't call it Harlequin, I call it Mardi Gras colors. I call it Mardi Gras. And in fact, this is when I started these socks. I wanted them to be done for Mardi Gras, but they're not, and that's okay. These are the Stripe top down or cuff down socks. And you see why I call it my Mardi Gras colorway. I am thoroughly enjoying this pattern, both toe up and cuff down. I'm enjoying the learning experience. The pattern is very easy to follow, nothing scary, nothing dicey about it. And I recommend, as I said, join me on it. Plus, then I'm not alone doing this, but this is awesome sauce. I marked this so I know this is where my cuff is. And also as progress. I'll put another progress marker in here, so that when you guys see it again, you'll see how far I got. And the needles I am using are called the Addi Flex Tips. I thoroughly recommend these needles. I absolutely love, love, love them. I know there's a lot of mixed reviews in the crafting community about them. You either hate them or you love them. I happen to love them. I would love to get another set of these. They are not cheap. I would suggest if you're wanting to try the flex tips, maybe contact one of your knitting friends, or if you're in a knit group or an online Facebook knit group or on Ravelry, talk to somebody. Maybe they can let you borrow a pair to make a pair of socks, or a pair of socks to see how you like them, or check around, because some people are selling theirs online because they don't like them, and you can get them at a great price. My next project is in my Halloween bag. And that is made by me. I love to call them my perfectly imperfect bags because they're never perfect, and I'm not perfect. So why should my bags be perfect if I'm not perfect? Because nothing's perfect. But I love this bag. It is a 9-inch zipper. And the inside is awesome. As you will see, hang on. This is what the inside of my bag says. It says, boo. And you can tell when I started this project back in October for Halloween. It is part of Dun 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 Dun, another Craftsy Blueprint class I'm taking. And it's called Knitting on the Bias with Bristol Ivy. I highly recommend taking this class if you want to learn how to knit on the biased, or get better at knitting on the biased, or even understanding it. Excuse me, the pattern that I am working on is exclusive only to Craftsy Blueprint. And the pattern is called, the class is called Bias Knitting, a New Angle on Scarves. And I actually did, the first project I did was called a Simple Bias Cowl. I don't have that with me. I believe I have it on my project page. The second pattern I am knitting out of the class is called Biased Ripple Scarf. And I believe I have a project, I do have a project page for that. This is what it looks like. And the yarn I am using is old yarn from Stash. I picked it up at Craftsy in the early 2000s. It is their satin yarn. It's pink for breast. I got the pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it sat in my stash because I just didn't know what to knit or crochet with it. So it stayed there, and I'm trying, if you guys know me, I have like a whole room full of yarn. And some of it's just single, some is enough to make sweaters and scarves and so on and so forth. And instead of going out and buying yarn to make from it, I dove through my stash and I got my hands on, I forget how many skeins of it I have, but it was exactly enough or over enough to make this scarf. And that is great because that means that's going to be yarn out of my stash, which means I can buy more then. If you guys know how it is with stash. You use enough in your stash so you can go buy more to replace it. But here's where I am at so far. I am not terribly far along. I do want to get different lighting for this, but this is what it looks like. It is knit in the bias. It is turning in, but again, it will, once I block it, it will be better. And if you're wondering, this is 100% acrylic, and yes, you can block acrylic yarn. you just have to be careful. You cannot put a hot iron on acrylic or you're going to do what they call kill acrylic or melt it. And then it'll lose whatever drapiness and zhoosh you need for it. But you can block it very carefully. I have many times. I absolutely love it. And if you haven't, I'm urging you, join my year-long Blueprint Craftsy class along. Take Craftsy classes with me. We can do it together, work our way through classes. I urge you guys, do my year-long Craftsy along. It's well worth it, and it's fun, and you get great projects. And if you don't like the projects that you knit, they make great gifts. This knit is very easy and simple because there's two parts of the pattern that I have to repeat. I have to pay a little bit more attention to the pattern at times. But then once you get it down, that section down again, I just go till it's time to change sections. But yeah, come on, join me on my Craftsy along and my sock along, my Dan, Laura, and Nicole along, or my Nicole and Laura along. All right. Here is the second Perfectly Imperfect bag I knit. There's nothing in this one, and it's just the same as the other one, except I added a handle to it. Alright, next pattern I'm working on is another doily called Surprise Mediterranean Surf Doily. And it says on here, skill level intermediate. I don't know if I want to say it's intermediate. The only thing that got me was the cross stitch part, because it's not the way I know how to do cross stitch. Once I had help and got it down, it's easy peasy now. Here's the Ocean Aqua. And yes, I do have another 2-3 skeins of this, so I know I won't run out. Here is where I am at so far. Nothing too exciting to show you guys, but this is where I'm at so far. And it looks all wonky because it's not blocked. And it's actually crocheted on, probably wondering why I have 3 hooks in here, because I lose crochet hooks and then I find them and I just stuff them in my project bag to put away when I'm done with the project. I am using it's called a E-Hook US 4 3.50 mil needle. And it is in a bag I made, and it is a Japanese knot bag. Knot bag, in case that didn't come out right the first time. In case it's true, it sounded like it didn't. Japanese knot bag. If you're having a good laugh at home because of what I just said, that's fine, because I am too. And it is in some Camo Girl colorway, Camo Girl pattern. And if you're wondering how it goes, I will show you guys. Let me put this goodness back in here. You take it, you take this handle, you put it through there, and ta-da! You have a bag. I got this pattern from Martha Stewart's website. There are other places online where you can get this pattern. I believe, check Etsy, check McCall, Simplicity. They have them, as well if you're interested in sewing one. But I did make this bag. It is very, very imperfect because it is the first time I ever made a knotted bag. And I will be making more of this bag because I love them. Moving it right along. I am doing a pattern that has been very popular on Ravelry for a long time. And it's just taken me a long time to figure out I wanted to make it. It's been sitting in my queue. If you guys are ever stuck on what you want to knit, check my queue out. I have almost 2,000 items queued. So check them out. You might like what you find. You know, you guys enable me to add stuff to my queue, and I hope I do the same for you guys. I am not sure how they say this, but Calapatis. I know I'm not saying it right. If you guys know how to say this correctly, please correct me. But this is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's also a Knitty pattern. And here's what it looks like. I am not giving anything away. It is a free pattern. I absolutely adore it. As I said, it's been sitting in my queue for ages, and I just got the urge to want to knit it one night. So, what a girl does when she wants to knit a project, but she's not sure she has enough yarn to actually make it, which I knew I did if I dug through my stash, and I found some yarn by Mary Maxim. I actually bought this at a church yard sale, and I bought this whole bag. I believe there's like 5 skeins of this total, and it's called Autumn Mist, and it's like a self-striping yarn, or a fade yarn, I want to say. I'm not sure, but 5 or 6 skeins of this I bought for $1. Mary Maxim Prisma yarn. And I am knitting these. I am knitting this on 5.0 mil needles. And they are on my Chiagus. I believe it's called Red Lace. I love Chiagus along with signatures. I'm not a needle snob. I give every needle a try to see what I like. This is... If you guys are watching and you've knit this pattern before, will you please tell me why it tries to roll up like a tongue? It reminds me of somebody sticking their tongue out and then it rolls up. Or a curtain. If you remember those shades, you pull them down, and if you pull them down too hard, they'll right up. That's what this reminds me of, as you can see. But this is the bottom. Right here's the bottom. And this is where I am at so far. And it just keeps winding up on me. It's a beautiful yarn. I absolutely love it. But if you guys can tell me why it just keeps rolling up like that on me, I would much appreciate it. Or tell me how to stop it, because I'm ready to take one of my hooks and just hook it back here like that and just keep going, because it gets annoying. I don't know if it's the yarn itself causing it to do that, because this Prisma yarn is kind of like Red Heart Boutique Unforgettable and Lion Brand's, I believe it's called Amazing Yarn. This is exactly how it feels, and it's a gorgeous soft yarn, and this actually works a lot better than Red Heart's Unforgettable Boutique yarn. That is horrible to work with. This is a lot better. I want to say it reminds me of the quality of Lion Brand. I could be wrong, but that's what it feels like. But it's what. It's just annoying me because it winds up, and I love this pattern. So if you guys can help me get it to lay smoothly, because it's very gorgeous, as you can see. It's almost like my knitting attacks. It just keeps rolling up. And no, I don't have breath mints in there. That's stitch markers. I use the old mint boxes to keep my stitch markers in when I'm working on projects, because that's just what I do. I don't want to lose them. And yes, I do look for yarn at yard sales, because believe it or not, if you're not afraid to take a chance and use acrylic yarns, you know, you can find some really good yarns at yard sales. People are getting rid of... Sorry, camera down for a second. iPad down. Now you guys are really at a funny angle, and I'm sorry about that. I moved one of my bags, and camera does not want to stay. Alright. If I'm making you motion sick, if I was making you motion sick, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. One of my other knitting projects is Sweater Modification for a Custom Fit by Amy Herzog. And I highly recommend taking this Craftsy class with me. It is awesome. It's a lot of measurement, and I am fine with that because I am learning a lot. The finished part of it, this I showed you, is the back of the cardigan. And this is the right front of the cardigan. I am just, it's plain stockinette and rib at the bottom. And if you're like, Nicole, it looks wonky, that's because it's not blocked yet. And the color I am using is called Turquoise. It's by Red Heart Yarn. It is their Super Saver yarn. And you're probably like, Nicole, we've seen that color before on a sweater. On a cardigan you have. Yes, you did. This used to be my February lady sweater pattern. And I lost a lot of weight and it got big. And I frogged it and I'm using it to make a new cardigan. These are 3.5 mil needles. They are my Knit Pick interchangeables. I believe these are the nickel plated ones. I highly recommend Knit Pick's interchangeables. I like them. They are an affordably great priced yarn. Affordably great priced needles. And their yarn is too. So if you want, please feel free to take this class with me. You will enjoy it. And one more thing I am knitting on, and it is a exclusive only on the Mary Maxim blog. It is their candy cane throw. I didn't want to crochet this at Christmas time. So I'm working on it now. It's skill level easy. It is called, basically a diagonal or corner to corner blanket. And it is on a size H 5 mil crochet hook. And the yarn I am using is some Mill Ends yarn that I got at Joann's. It's basically equivalent to Red Heart's Team Spirit yarn. And I don't know what colorway this is. It's just red and gray. If you know what team was red and gray, let me know because I don't. But this is what it looks like so far. I'm enjoying the corner to corner blanket. I was just in the mood to crochet something besides my doily. And I remembered I had this pattern. And well, let's face it, it doesn't have to be Christmas themed. Just because it says candy cane throw doesn't mean I can't make it whatever my little heart desires. So that's that. I have a total of like 6 or 7 balls of this, or skeins of this, and I am just going to use them up. I don't know, I'm just probably going to put the blanket in my gift donation pile and go from there. That is everything that I'm making. I know, cast-on-itis and hardly nothing finished. We've all been there, I think. I have things I want to sew. I just haven't had the urge to sew. I'm sure you've been like that before. But yeah, that's everything, you guys. I know this is a fairly long podcast, nothing exciting. The next podcast I am working on, I plan to have a little snippet or a little trailer for you guys in there about showing you about where I live and taking you guys on some shenanigans and some fun with me. Maybe you guys will get to meet some of my crafting friends and basically even just meet some of my friends that may join me on the podcast. I'm also interested if you guys would like to do a virtual knit night on Google Hangouts. Let me know. If you would like me to do a YouTube live podcast, let me know. I can set that up. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy your week and your weekend. And for those of you that are mothers, happy Mother's Day. If you are a pet parent, happy Mother's Day of your fur baby. But yeah, enjoy. And I am going to sign off. I'm going to purloin from Sassy Pants Knitter. Love what you do and do what you love. And treat everybody with kindness and respect. And remember, good karma goes a long way, because what you do, you get back. Bye.